And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I am your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Football Friday. So I didn't realize this, but it was brought to my attention that I did not have sound for pretty much like the whole show as I was doing it. So I was in the zone just doing the show, and then it was brought to my attention that I didn't have sound. So we're gonna start from scratch again. So got a lot to talk about today once again. Also have the baseball podcast after this. So I'm going to do that after I live stream this show. So I'm really looking forward to doing that. But yeah, let's get right into what we were talking about before that occurred. So so the Broncos and the Chiefs. So the Chiefs, they have won the previous 15 meetings against the Broncos, and the Broncos, the last time they won was when Peyton Manning was the quarterback. That was back in 2015. It was like week 2 of the NFL season that year, and that was the year the Broncos won the Super Bowl. And that was a long time ago, and a lot of things have changed since then. I mean, the Broncos, they've gone through quarterbacks. I mean, Trevor Siemian, Paxton Lynch, Joe Flacco, Drew Lock, like all these guys. Now Russell Wilson, and that streak continued to go. And the Broncos lost last night, 19-8. I mean, I thought the Broncos would cover the spread, but that was not the case. Their offense really has been kind of like their strength this season, because the defense has just been so bad, has really been a sieve. And last night they actually did play a good game. Mahomes didn't really look that good. We'll actually take a look at the he was still okay, but he didn't light up the stat sheet. So we'll look at the statistics here. So Russell Wilson yesterday, he was 13 of 22 for 95 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. And Mahomes, he was 30 of 40 for 306 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Their leading rusher was Isaiah Pacheco. He's continuing to have a good season. And he's getting involved in the passing game too, as well. And he looks like he's they got themselves a good player, Pacheco. And Kelsey, of course, was their leading receiver last night as well. Taylor Swift was in the house. So it definitely you kind of expected Kelsey to have a good game, but he was. I mean, the Broncos just did a terrible job covering him. I mean, he's just wide open all the time. I mean, that's the one guy that you got to focus on, because the receivers. I mean, Kadarius Toney's still a question mark. I mean, Valdez-Scantling makes a big play here or there. Justin Watson, same thing. Rashee Rice, he actually had a good game. He had that big catch towards the end to set up the field goal that put the Chiefs up 19-8. So, I mean, it's, the Broncos, they just couldn't get anything going. I mean, Russ had 2 picks, and Sean Payton kind of had, at the end of the game in his press conference, he talked about how, it was his bad for calling the timeout, near the end of the first half, because then the Chiefs were able to march down the field, and Harrison Butker kicked a 60-yard field goal, which, I mean, he's been money this year. He hasn't missed a field goal yet, But I thought the Broncos could backdoor it, and it looked like that was going to happen. But unfortunately, the Chiefs, they got that big play with Rashee Rice, and they were able to kick the field goal. So, I mean, I'm just doing so bad picking Chiefs games this year when it comes to the spreads. I mean, listen, I didn't expect the Broncos to win, but, I mean, I was hoping they would backdoor it. And it was almost a miracle because, I mean, the only big play they had on offense was that touchdown to Cortland Sutton, which was set up by a very questionable roughing the passer call. And, many, fans complain about the Chiefs always getting calls, but that call was for the Broncos. And, that set up the touchdown. Cortland Sutton made a really nice catch. So, that was really it. And then they got the 2-point conversion. But other than that, the Broncos offense really just did nothing. I mean, the first like 6 or 7 possessions, it started off with a turnover on downs. So their first, what was it? Their first 7 possessions. So it was turnover on downs, interception, punt, interception. So, I think, there's things that need to be fixed with that team, and it's not going to happen this year. They started releasing some guys. They released Frank Clark, so maybe he goes back to Kansas City because he was on the Chiefs the last few years, so he might be going back there possibly. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But it just was a bad loss. And also, the other thing too is, I saw something that said that Russell Wilson, there could be a change of quarterback possibly. That there's some rumblings that maybe Russell Wilson takes a seat and they start Jarrett Stidham instead. I mean, I hope not, because from a fantasy perspective, I kind of need Russ because in my 2 QB league, he's basically my QB1, it was supposed to be Aaron Rodgers, but we know what happened there. But yeah, I mean it's a mess over there. And listen, how bad does Sean Payton look right now? I mean, he talked all that stuff about Nathaniel Hackett. I mean, I talked about this yesterday, and I mean, you're doing an even worse job than he is right now. So what does that say about you? So, and the Broncos now, they're 1-5. I mean, they're not going anywhere. The Chiefs, I mean, listen, it hasn't looked pretty so far, but at least offensively. But you know what? They're getting the job done. You know what? Their defense is playing good. This is one of the better defenses that they've had in a while. So I don't know. We're just gonna have to wait and see. I mean, the thing is, with the Chiefs, they're kind of winning ugly. I mean, yesterday was kind of an ugly win for them. I mean, they're fortunate that the offense for the Broncos just couldn't do anything yesterday. But, yeah, I mean, they look good. They look good. So, I think that, they're eventually going to figure it out. I mean, Mahomes hasn't had to play hero ball that much. But I think, when he has to be money, he's gonna do that. And, we're just going to have to, wait and see. I think as the season progresses, I mean, the offense will probably figure it out. And the other thing is they got to go out and get a receiver. I think they definitely have to go and do that because, I mean, this receiving core just really isn't that good. And, I mean, Kadarius Toney did score a touchdown last night, but that was really all he did. Justin Watson got hurt. I think it was a wrist injury. Obviously, you still got Travis Kelce, of course, and Isaiah Pacheco. He's been running the ball very well. But, yeah, it's a work in progress with this offense. I mean, I think they kind of miss Eric Bieniemy. But we'll see. I mean, maybe there's a receiver that's made available. The Chiefs try to, make a trade. So, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But, yeah, I mean, listen, they're 5-1. I mean, they're on their way to winning another AFC West crown. So, I think that, they're going to be fine. I'm not worried about the Chiefs. I just am not. Because, listen, we were worried about them a couple years ago. They made it to the AFC Championship. And then they lost Tyreek Hill and won the Super Bowl. So, but you know what? I think the way the defense has been playing, that's something you got to be encouraged about. I mean, now having Chris Jones back after he was holding out, you know, I think, they are, they're heading in the right direction with that defense. It's just the offense, they got to, figure some stuff out and maybe get some more playmakers, possibly via trade. So, but it's two teams going in completely different directions right now. That's really how you got to look at it. So, I mean, if Russell Wilson gets benched, I mean, how about that? I mean, that would be insane if that ends up happening. But I mean, the team's a mess right now, and to give the defense credit, I mean, they actually played good. I mean, they held the Chiefs to 19 points. I mean, it should have been 16 if if Sean Payton didn't waste the timeout and give the Chiefs the ball back and allow them to get into good field position to kick a field goal. Because listen, Butker kicking a 60-yard field goal, I mean, that's a given. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes. I mean, Butker looks good. I mean, Kelsey had another great game. Taylor Swift was in the house. Pacheco looks good. The defense looks good. I mean, Mahomes, yeah, he's been okay the last, 2 weeks, but wasn't great against the Jets. The thing that concerns me with Mahomes is the interceptions because, they've been bad. And also the other thing, too, is Andy Reid and some of the play calling. I'm getting tired of these, direct snaps and handoffs to wide receivers. And they did, a fake field goal yesterday, and they didn't get the first down. I'm getting a little tired of this stuff because, listen, either take the points, and the other thing, too, is you got Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback. Let him get the first down for you. Why are you... I don't get it. It really is. Some of the play calling really is, it's questionable. It really is. So, I don't know. And that could lead to their demise down the road in the playoffs. I don't know. Right now, I can't really sit here and say that the Chiefs are going to repeat, and it's hard to repeat. Obviously, they're going to probably be one of the final teams at the end. But something's off with them right now. And also with Andy Reid doing, calling some of these plays, I think they got to tone it down a little bit with some of these fake plays because it's going to cost them. I mean, they're fortunate they weren't playing against a very good team yesterday, but you're doing that against the Bills or the Dolphins. I mean, those teams are probably might capitalize on that. Or the Bengals, with them hopefully trying to figure it out. So, yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. But, yeah, that's pretty much it. Talking about the Chiefs and the Broncos here. The Broncos, they've now lost 16 straight against the Chiefs. Again, the last time they won was 2015, which was a long time ago. So with that, we are going to take our first break of the show. And then when we come back, we are going to discuss a big NFC matchup between the first place Lions and the first place Buccaneers. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.